We are live.
All right. So here we are again.
Here we
Howard,
are. Online Money Podcast.
online. Well, it's not really online money. I'm not quite sure what we're going to name this thing.
That's the domain we have.
We have online money, but I mean, should we? Anyway, we can talk about this later.
Let's start all over again.
No. I like this start.
Right.
So
What are you gonna call it this week, John?
this is Howard Lerner, and I'm John Pa. And here is our podcast that used to be called Online Money, but now we're changing it to something else that we're not quite sure what it is yet.
.com.
But .com probably. And today we're going to talk about the future or even the present state of businesses for especially physically dependent businesses that are dependent on physical locations like restaurants, coffee shops, retail.
Yep.
What do these, especially restaurants, they're getting crushed, devastated. They can't. There's no way they can be making money
Unless you're fast food.
Oh, that's true.
Fast food with a drive-through.
That's true. That's
They're
true.
taking up all the business. They're taking it all.
Yeah. So it's basically they're eating everybody else's lunch, like literally.
Yeah.
So what do these other restaurants, like our favorite Neapolitan restaurant, where you can't necessarily do that fast food wise? What do these restaurants do? How do they make money? What are some ideas to do that? I mean, also, I think this would be relatable to anybody who is already in a some kind of physical location.
Yep.
Thinking through that, we can even talk a little bit about commercial real estate.
Yep.
And then go from there. So what do you think? So get background. Just some background first. Howard, obviously, we like we talked about in our first initial podcast. Howard has a great background in this exact area of business. You had a coffee shop. You ran it for years and sold it.
Yes.
And for me, actually, I have restaurants. What's that?
You grew up in a restaurant.
Restaurants are near and dear to me because my dad opened restaurants,
right.
And it's in my blood. And also both Howard and I have dabbled in commercial real estate, so we're very, I wouldn't say we're intimately involved in it, but we definitely have a lot of familiarity with this business. So what do you think? Obviously, I have my own ideas, but I would love to hear what you think about all this, and what are some helpful tips for people who are in the trenches of this?
Well, first of all, anyone who's going through this, my heart goes out to you, because this is a really challenging time and unprecedented time. There's really, we've been through a number of very big challenges over the past, since I've been in business. I think, we all reference the 2008 sort of recession, the Great Recession that sort of hit, caused by the sort of games played with the housing market and messing with risk. And this is not that. In some ways, this is better than that, though. This is not about fundamental failures in the economy. It's about it's a response to a biological challenge. Not that makes it any better, because lost business is lost business, but it isn't a failure of finance, or the fundamentals are still, have always been solid in the restaurant industry. And so, I always thought of restaurants as sort of like the last sort of frontier of businesses where you don't need a tremendous education or specialization or super skills to do. If you have a sense of taste, if you have a niche, if you have a product, recipes, something like that, you can open a restaurant. You don't even need a whole lot of experience, to open a restaurant, depending on how, what the competition is. So then that's always been like that. Restaurateurs have always been able to make a lot of money without a lot of special skill. Not to say that there aren't great skills needed for restaurants, but you can kind of learn those along the way. I'm a perfect example of that. I didn't really know anything about coffee when I opened my first coffee house. I thought about coffee and that was enough at the time because
Great coffee.
I drank coffee, but I wasn't a discriminating coffee drinker. But that said, I just want to set the stage here that restaurants a restaurant is a very attractive business for someone who doesn't have a whole lot of experience. What happens? Well, restaurants, there's. I think the big challenge for restaurants has been in the past probably 10 years been technology. If you're a restaurateur and you've been reluctant to embrace technology, that means online ordering, contactless payment.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think restaurants are reticent towards technology? What do you think? I think I've noticed the same thing. Why do you think you've worked with a lot of restaurateurs as well? Why don't they jump on? I mean, what caused them to not do it as readily as other people?
I think there are a couple of things. Some are very innocent and some are kind of insidious. I look at first of all, restaurateurs are busy. Many restaurateurs are operationally oriented. I'm not talking about the Red Robins and the Applebee's and the Chick-fil-A's of the world. I'm talking about the mom and pop restaurants, maybe this tightly held restaurant group that is regional, and they're busy. They don't have a lot of time to play in the digital world, and they haven't needed to up to now. The credit card has been just fine. And that's the most recent that's the most advanced technology that most restaurateurs have dealt with until this pandemic.
POS.
The credit card, just the credit card, taking a credit card. They could be using a cash register, a
sliding thing.
A knuckle cruncher. Yeah, they could be doing that. But also I'm talking about the cash register itself. The POS system evolved out of the cash register. And when we started Caldi's, we had a cash register, an old used one that was not digital at all, and we had we did get a swipe terminal. This was 1994. We could get a swipe terminal, a digital swipe terminal for credit cards, and that used a phone line. That was about, not much has changed for many small operationally run individual restaurants or restaurant groups. That hasn't really changed. And I think it's because they're just busy. They're not particularly technologically oriented because the restaurant business hasn't really been technologically oriented. It hasn't forced them to do that.
I would imagine that success means getting people through the door, and as long as you can get people through the door, then you're good to go, because that's why. I mean, other than Instagram, you probably don't need much technology other than being able to swipe the credit card to get people into the door. So I would imagine that most restaurateurs, you've got to get your menu right, all the fundamentals for a restaurant, you got to get that right. But the technology, why do you need technology? I probably don't think about it. All I'm trying to think about is how to make this better experience. But then you have something like what we have now that blows it all up.
But there have been problems. Like, what happened in the early 2000s? Everyone walked into a restaurant and said, "Do you have gift cards?" Well, if you don't have gift cards, you lose opportunities. And gift cards are tremendously, so a gift card posed a challenge to an independent restaurateur or to a small local chain operator, because they had to solve this problem. And those solutions eventually came to them. But what has always, at least in the past 20 years, what has typically stood between the restaurateur embracing the technology they need to navigate this pandemic and their failure has typically been, and this is my asshole coming out, it's the POS system. It's the proprietary point of sale system that has been presented to the restaurateur that the restaurateur has had to invest tremendous amounts of money into, and pay their local dealer for the hardware, the software, and the service contract on an ongoing basis. And that has created this walled garden for these restaurateurs that they have to operate. And it's typically been a rejection of that technology, whether it's online ordering or the type of tendering that they want to use, contactless. If you want to take Square, well, our system doesn't allow that, so you lose. Because if you do allow a restaurateur to accept Square on your POS system, eventually Square is going to come in and show you that that POS system was a waste of money, and here's ours. By the way, it's better and free. So that's the challenge. That's the insidious side of this thing that I see is happening. And this was long before the pandemic. And you and I even worked on a project like this, John. If you remember, I'm not going to mention the name. We worked on it was very challenging, and because there was a reluctance to. This is a client that we both work with together, and they were reluctant to create a new technology, embrace the new technology. Online ordering was necessary, and instead they went with a system that was presented to them by their existing consultant, who I believe had a conflict of interest in there. But the system sort of works, But so that's my thing. I really do have a beef with the traditional POS systems because I've been a victim of them many times.
So aside from feeling like you're shackled or by these POS system and companies, so now that we have this crazy external force that is forcing all these restaurants and physically based businesses, physical space-based businesses to operate in such a different manner, in a money-losing manner. Yeah. What do you think is helpful for these people? What do you think would be able to get them to a higher amount of revenue, maybe even make a profit? Are there ways to do that? Maybe that's back up a question. Are there ways to do that? And if there are, what do you think they could be? Like, I would imagine that I'm not sure if a lot of restaurants would even have because I think I agree with you with that. Remember that article that we read on the New York Times? That article I shared with you about that one restaurateur and
yes,
and how basically is survival and how little money she made. I was like, how could she?
That was early on during the pandemic, and that was before. I don't know if she's open again. I don't know what the status was. It sounded like that wasn't going to happen. The ones who are really suffering are the fine dining establishments like hers. And I can't remember the name of that restaurant. What was that? But it was in New York City.
We'll link to that article.
Yeah, we'll link to it in the notes. The fine dining is really taking a hit. The challenges that face fine dining is acute because really, if you think about the restaurant model, the quaint restaurant model, it's a crowded space, it's tiny. Restaurateurs have, they have expenses. It's a relatively low margin business. And when you have a business when you have those seats crowded, you make your money at those last 20% of seats that fill up, So you got those expenses. You have your staff, you have your supplies, you have your rent, your fixed costs, all those things. And if you need that last 20% of people to walk in the door to make your money, to make your profit, your bottom line, and all of a sudden you've got a social distancing rule that prohibits you from having it only allows you to operate at 25 or 50% of your capacity, you're guaranteed to lose money unless you pull the other levers of business that we all know, and that is price and marketing. So the only solution is it's not an issue of, is this, what's my advice to you, or what would I do? Or you have two levers, you have pricing and pricing is a really important one, but prices have to go up to cover those costs. And what do you deliver for that price increase? It's a huge.
I'll sneak an idea in there. So I think that using technology to create extra liquidity, because I think part of it is not just marketing. It's not just because right now they're hampered by space, and so why not? But everybody's starting to get used to curbside. They're getting used to pickup. They're getting used to delivery. So why not leverage that and create I'm assuming that a lot of these restaurants, especially the established ones, or coffee shops or whatever, have a loyal following. If they can actually create a subscription model where these restaurants are, getting their loyal following to subscribe to a meal a week or a meal a month or whatever, and get enough of them, now you're unlocking a completely different model that is not based on space. These people are ordering and they're paying you money from their homes now. It can come from anywhere now, at least in the city. And then now they don't even use your space. They come and pick up their food and they maybe go to the park, or maybe they go back to their home, or maybe they get it delivered. And so now you're not even using your space. Now you're just a fully functioning kitchen that is just a delivery mechanism, and not even worrying about people getting, butts in the seats. So now you're unlocking a whole realm of revenue that never existed or even was in your mind before. I would imagine that some of these restaurants can make even more money than before, as long as they can keep them open. What do you think about that?
Curbside pickup is really just turning any restaurant into a drive-through. So that's really what's happening. I did a curbside pickup at a restaurant across the way in my neighborhood called Louis. Louis.
Oh, you did? How was it?
Fantastic. Some products are better suited to curbside pickup than others. And the question is, what does a super fine dining do? How do you create that value? Are you going to go do curbside pickup for I'm not going to mention any names here, but but a very high-end, expensive sort of restaurant that you might take someone to prom in high school, or maybe a dinner that you go, is that really going to be the same? Because what are you buying? What's the product that you're selling as a high-end restaurateur? You really realize it's really not the food. Because if it were the food, it would be, you could just take that, that escargot and that very fine wine and that beautiful rack of lamb, and you could just put it in a cardboard box, but people aren't going to do that. It's not the same thing.
So you don't think that anybody, so obviously the ambiance, the atmosphere is a huge component to fine dining.
Yeah.
But I would still imagine that there's still people who would want their pork chop or steak from that place, which would still allow people to, if they want to pick it up, maybe it's at a discount. Maybe price is part of the issue.
Okay,
right?
so and that gets down. So then right, and that gets down to the pricing and the marketing thing. You have to get that information out to the client that you have this product and that's available and that is just as good. And you got to change that experience, because now you can't control that experience. When I was running Caldi's, I always believed that I really had 3 jobs, and that was to manage the quality, the customer service, and the atmosphere. And I can't do any of that. Maybe customer service a little bit from a curbside pickup. I can smile and be nice and be on time, and but atmosphere. What happens if I spend, so we're talking fine dining, we're talking $150 a person, at a fine dining restaurant in St. Louis, and we're not even a high-end market, but that's what I'm saying when I say fine dining. So now I take that experience, I put that in a bag, I give it to you, I take that $150 per person, that's 2 of us, that's $300, and now I lose my customer service, because I'm not there to serve it to you. And I lose my atmosphere because I can't control that, the TV is on, or the dog is barking, or I can't control any of that.
But I think people right now, the state of people's minds, we're dying for comfort. And I think that those restaurants bring a sense of nostalgia, a sense of memory of normalcy that we are all dying. I mean, maybe not everybody's willing to pay $300 for that, to bring something back home to eat a bunch of, tasting plates. I'm not sure. And we don't have to keep it. We don't have to keep it. Maybe, yeah. But I think there are people who would be, and if I were a restaurateur, I would at least be trying to do that. But I don't think this is just, about fine dining, right? This is, I would imagine there's a lot of restaurants, or even bars. I would imagine bars are still losing business. Why can't they do the same thing with growlers, right? I don't know how the legality of all that. You probably know better than I would. But I would imagine they could sell growlers on a subscription basis and get them to come in and fill up and then do the growler. And they come in every week, whatever it is, every weekend, and do their thing, get their growler, have their fun at the park or
right. And converting you're looking at, again, an element of pricing. Recurring revenue is important for every business. Anytime you can seize a recurring revenue subscription type model, that's fantastic. And that's in a way, it's kind of like what a gift card is. A gift card is something that instead of it being recurring, though, it's money that you already have in the bank. That money's sitting in your bank, and if that customer uses it or doesn't use it, it doesn't matter. You want them to use it. If you have confidence in your product, you want them to use it. You want them to come in, and you have that confidence that they're going to come back. But I selected the fine dining model simply because think about the challenges of that. That business. Is that business coming back? Is there anything that a fine dining restaurant can do to save itself, aside from an entire new approach to doing business? Can they? Are they going to be? I'm looking at Vicia. Okay, Vicia is a really nice restaurant in the Cortex area here in St. Louis. It's one of my favorites. It's
really, I've never been.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
if it's still there.
And I do follow them on social media, and I noticed that they do a lot of a lot of posts, and they're really stressing their sort of family meals that you can pick up. So they've gone really from this beautiful, intimate experience to more of a family farm to table sort of concept. I don't know how it's working for them. The photos look good, food looks good, but I haven't gone because I associate Vicia with an experience. They made that space beautiful. It's a beautiful space. It's not going to be the same here, but pricing probably pretty close to what it was. So I think this is super challenging for a restaurateur who is used to selling quality customer service and atmosphere. What's interesting is a fast food restaurant, they're just selling quality, maybe a little customer service. If you're doing the drive-through,
quality,
quality.
They're just selling quality.
Look, quality is not only good quality. Quality has to do with predictability, realization of expectation. People go to McDonald's. It's not the best burger in any market, but as long as it's consistent and as long as that product is what you expect it to be, you hit your mark. So
yeah. And
the fast food, already these restaurants have more drive-through business. These quick service restaurants have more drive-through than dine-in.
Yeah, I would imagine that most people go to McDonald's for. I don't know if quality seems to throw a weird sense to me, but value.
I mean, it's all relative. Quality is about meeting expectations.
Yeah.
If I have an expectation that I'm going to get a Vicia quality experience going to McDonald's, I'm going to fail. But if I have an expectation I'm going to have the McDonald's experience at McDonald's and that is met, that's great.
Well, yeah. Okay, I think we're talking about semantics or terminologies right now. But so what about these mom and pop shops and neighborhood restaurants, like the one we referred to in that New York Times article? I mean, I guess she is fine dining, but she's not fine dining. It's like
New York fine dining. It's like New York. It's a high end experience.
Yeah, okay, higher end. But what about the not so high end experience, or even the coffee shop? What about these establishments? What can they do? Because a coffee shop, I don't think you necessarily need as much ambiance. So you have coffee shops that are tiny. They're like these little corner places. Like what do you do that?
You don't need to make a great experience. And Starbucks has proven that. Starbucks sells tremendous amounts of coffee through their drive-throughs. They don't. I'm not getting a great experience even when I go into a Starbucks and order my coffee. I'm not even getting a great coffee, but it works. How can first of all, I would say to the operators of those local businesses is that you have to master that technology. You have to understand what the technology can do for your business and understand if you don't know what the value of a contactless payment is, what Apple Pay or something like that, or Google Wallet or something like that is, what that can do for your business, you need to educate yourself. You need to understand that people don't want to handle cash anymore. And the less they can do that, the better. People want to use their phones more. People have wanted to use their phones for 20 years more, but now they really want to use their phone. They don't want to touch anything, So
I definitely don't touch anything, for sure.
You don't want to touch anything. I don't want to touch anything. I certainly don't want to touch some crumpled up bill. And I guarantee you, the person who's working on the other side of the counter who work in there doesn't want to touch it either.
No, nobody wants to touch money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I was just thinking about coffee shops, one thing that they could do is, one thing I think that even restaurants have not been doing as much, but coffee shops have not been doing is I think they need to become more content machines and educators, partially so that you can create an audience. And one of the things that's good about coffee shops is that you have a physical product that you can mail very easily. You got beans. So, I know that a lot of coffee shops have been able to create subscriptions for their coffee beans. But I would think now that you need to ramp that up far more and get that really going. The other thing I think that would work would be that subscription model too with coffees. People, it's a ritual. People love their coffees every day. I don't know how much, I would imagine that some of them still go to, I live close to Starbucks. People still go to Starbucks. They still pick up their coffees. Why don't you create a subscription for your morning pickups, and they can come in and grab their coffee and go. And that way you have a stream of revenue that is going to come in every single day or every other day or every week or whatever it is. And it's predictable.
Right. So, I think, well, one of the, so it depends where coffee is. I think I like the idea, and it depends where coffee is on your sort of, on your value stream in a business. So take Panera, for instance. Panera recently launched and Panera's always done technology very well. They've been extremely good at that. They were early to embrace online pickup, and they really understood the market as well. They started selling groceries through their stores through online pickup. They realized this early, and it's been a huge hit for them. They've done great things. But what they recently launched is a coffee subscription for $9 a month, $8.99 I think a month, as much coffee as you can drink.
Is it really? I knew they had a subscription. I didn't realize it was at basically $9 a month and as much as you want to drink.
Now that would work for Panera because most of what they're selling, they'll sell cups of coffee. They sell lots and lots of coffee, but everyone who walks in to Panera also gets some bagels or gets a sandwich or gets other stuff. It wouldn't work for Caldi's coffee where it's really coffee focused. Now Caldi's sells a lot of food. They have a lot of great bakery goods, great stuff like that, but really. A large number of people, I don't know the specific breakdown, but a large number do walk in and walk out with just a beverage, just a coffee. And whereas $8.99 for Panera coffee may be a good loss, that's definitely a loss leader in most cases. A Caldi's to do that at say,
no, that wouldn't work.
For a coffee every day, how much is that? That's a lot of money.
But so I think the model of what Panera is doing, or St. Louis Bread Co., those of you who live in St. Louis, would be it's their version of Amazon Prime. That it's their hook in you. So It constantly gets you coming back, ordering their bagels, ordering their sandwiches, or whatever it is. And that way, you know, you always have a tie to them. It's almost like for a website, a blog, it's your newsletter.
Right.
It's you have a hook into them. But for a coffee shop, they call these where it's a finer coffee. It's not, you're not just getting this kind of like, you know, it's, you know, average coffee, but a finer experience for coffee. I mean, why not do something like that? Except you would charge, I don't know, $100.
It depends. You know, the Panera model is all you can drink for $8.99 a month for drip coffee. That's.
But maybe it's like, because I bet you if people calculate out how much coffee they drink at a certain place and they pay for it, they're paying their $3.50 for a latte every day or whatever it is. They're paying like, you know, $600, $300 every single month.
You know something? Here's the thing about the coffee business. Nobody wants to remind the customer that you're spending $600 at their shop every month. Nobody wants.
I would imagine that most people have a clue of how much they're spending. And if they were able to get because right now I would say, you know, the terminology we used last week was survival and thriving, right? So what's surviving and thriving?
Right.
Right now, I think everybody, especially in this type of business, needs to know they're surviving. Yeah. So what is the guerrilla warfare that you can, what are the tactics of guerrilla warfare that you can implement now that's going to keep you alive? I don't think anybody thinks that they're going to be thriving right now.
You don't want the
triage.
Yeah. You don't want the cure to kill the patient, though. And in this case, you know, if you do now, what you could do is with the existing the gift cards. So people use their gift cards, and if you can associate loyalty with that or associate some sort of rewards with that, and then you can, once that card hits a certain low level, it automatically charges from a credit card account. That's how that could work. That way, you're not sending you're just topping up the credit. You're not sending a message to the client saying, hey, you have spent your $400 this month, you know. So really keep it, you know, the money is in the gift card renewal, the gift card recharge, I should say. And then
but the thing is, I wonder how many of these, like the $9 per month, I wonder how many people even come in that often. You know, it's like, I wonder if it's like the gym membership kind of thing. And the other thing would be even for the for, let's say, Caldi's, they're charging $90, you know, for, let's say it's, I don't know, 20 lattes, right? That sounds pretty absurd, meaning that it's a really good deal. But how many people would actually even come to get them? I don't know. I'm curious. Well, I really don't know.
There are stats on gift card, you know.
I mean, they don't use them. I mean, there's like, I think it's like over like 30%. So over a third of people don't ever use them. So it's free money for Starbucks.
Because they're gift cards. You're not talking about a gift card. You're talking about something that I pay for that. And let me tell you, I have lots of gift cards that people have given me that I don't use. But when I pay for something regularly, I'm going to use it. You know, I'm looking at it. But I think my Hulu, I'm thinking, I haven't watched Hulu in a couple of weeks. That might be on the chopping block next, you know. And, you know, I'm paying attention to that stuff. So I think.
Do you think you're the normal consumer?
I do. I do think so.
Get out of here. I don't think you're the normal consumer.
What do you mean?
No way. Okay. Because I think that, so I try not to give too much information about Howard, but Howard has just a lot of discretionary cash if he wants to use it. And at the same time, he is very aware of what he consumes and buys. And I would say that
I'm cheap. I'm cheap.
It could be cheap, but I have seen this. So just from our cookie business, I have seen that people in the Midwest, and I've heard this before too, people, and myself included, I put my categories into you too. I do not spend a lot of discretionary money. I just don't. And so I wouldn't say I'm cheap. I would say that I just don't like to. I don't like to spend money. I find it like it's just not. I don't see the reason. I think you're the exact same way.
I'm thoughtful about what I spend my money on, and I don't like to waste my money. And if I don't like to waste it. And a waste isn't buying Hulu. A waste is buying Hulu and not using Hulu. You know, that's the waste.
But at the same time, there are people I think who are much more willing to treat themselves and buy for themselves more readily than I think you, and I would include myself, more than us. I think we are definitely much more readily, we're much more ready to say no to ourselves, which I think that less people are like that. I would say the majority of people are less like that. That's my hunch. I don't have any statistical backing on that. But if that's the case, I think it also in the Midwest, people are much more apt to get bargains. They want to have deals. They want to, and I definitely put myself in that category. I love it, a good sale. And so in that case, I think we are like the majority of the Midwest. So I don't think of you as the typical consumer, nor would I put myself in that category. So when I look at coffee shops or like fine coffee or higher level coffee like Caldi's or Blueprint, Sump here, all these nicer coffee shops here, just to give you a nicer coffee, fancy coffee shop wherever you live. And I think that people, because especially now, are dying for comfort. They would be willing to pay for something like that. That's just my hunch, but you don't think so?
I think that, that when the tide goes out, we all see who's swimming naked. And that's the oldest cliche, but it's true with this pandemic. And something, if it's, is how much of that coffee shop experience is about the coffee? Because customers are very different people throughout the day. We kind of talked about this, you and I, that, when I may be seeking a caffeine delivery system in the morning, and getting my 16-ounce, Ethiopia Sidamo is going to be exactly what I need. But later on in the day, after lunch, I may want cafe mocha with some chocolate and some whipped cream on it. And I want to treat myself to something nice, and that's maybe what I want. So now I'm a different type of customer. And if I'm around some other people, I may want to get something that is maybe more something that is more of a social thing. I may want to get a tea or something like that. It really, you're many customers. The one thing I noticed in the coffee business is you're multiple customers throughout the day. You're John Pa caffeine delivery system, John Pa in the morning, but you're not that same person in the afternoon. You're not caffeine guy.
But I get what you're saying, that there are different facets or different, people have different moods. They have different rhythms of life. They might be a little more willing to spend, and then much less so later on. There are patterns that other people have. I totally agree with that.
But the technology, John, will tell us a lot about that stuff. And if you're not embracing that technology and the analytics that go with it, then you are depriving your business of that necessary intelligence to make those decisions.
What does that mean? So when you say technology, help define that for the restaurateur or whomever. What is that technology? Is it the POS system? Is it something else? What is that?
Yeah, that's great. Technology in the restaurant industry is really, it's multifaceted. You have everything from marketing technology, which would be social media and advertising, and the sort of the way that you present your products to your customers. And you also have technology in tendering, and how transactions are managed. Every transaction could be cash, could be credit card, could be a debit card or a gift card, or it could be anything. And then there's technology on in terms of training your staff, how the staff interacts with the customer using that technology. So there's a lot of different implementations of technology for a restaurateur. Each one of those should be delivering data, analytical data. And I should know something. And what's great about a loyalty program in a restaurant is that it tells you not only, it should tell you not only what the customer is getting, but also what they've purchased in the past, when they've purchased it, and in some cases who they're with. You know, do they come in alone? Do they come in, you know, what times of the day? All that information goes into defining who that customer is, and you realize 100% of customers are multiple customers throughout the day. They're just it's absolutely true. You know.
Oh, so we're you know, it's almost time to wrap up, but let's just play a little role play. Howard is your restaurateur, or maybe you own maybe back in call days again when you first started, you had only one spot.
Yep.
But now it's present day. You are in 2020,
Yep.
the year of clusters.
Yep.
What would you be doing right now to stay afloat, to survive?
Well, I'd make it easy for my customers to buy my product, first of all. Then I'd let them know. What does that mean? That means contactless payments, online orders, order for pickup, curbside pickup, all of those things. What makes it easy? Find the customers who are reluctant to expose themselves to COVID-19. What's going through their heads as they're thinking, how many doorknobs do I have to touch? How deep is this line going to be? How close is someone going to be? Are they going to be wearing masks? All that stuff. So how do I mitigate that stuff the most so that I remove all that sort of transactional friction? That's number one. Number two is, how do I get that information out to the customer? How do they educate that customer or market that message to the customer so that they know? What channels do I use to inform and educate my customer that I am a safe choice for them, right? Because you got to eat, right?
Real quick. So I was thinking about this. You were talking about the social media is one of the first technology that you mentioned. What is one? Because a lot of restaurateurs, a lot of these people, they don't necessarily know. What would be one thing you would do in social media that you think would help most, if not all, of these businesses? What's one thing you would do? The most important thing?
Well, find a Facebook ads or a Google ads campaign specialist, somebody who can help with that. If you can't do it yourself, it's very easy to do, but start spending a little bit of money on Facebook and Google ads, number one. You know, and when I say Facebook, I also mean Instagram. At the very minimal, you gotta market your message. You can't rely on free posts and sharing to get your message across. That's number one. And any marketing specialist will back me up on that. That's just a fact. Essential to do that. And then you got to create the content behind that. So you can't, just like you said earlier, you're exactly right. You gotta have a story. You gotta have something to hook people in, to let them understand you. And it's not just a matter of posting things to say, we have online ordering. Everyone has online ordering. All you're going to do is you're going to say, oh, well, so does this place and it's closer. I'm going to go there. Thank you for reminding me. You know, I'm hungry. I'm going to go over here. No, what is unique? You need to share your unique value proposition with your customer. And your unique value is not online ordering, that we've mastered the technology, that you're touchless. That's the bottom. That's the ticket for entry, you know. But what do those customers need? They need to know that it's going to be a smooth transaction. It's going to be contactless, and it's going to be and the food is going to be, or the beverage is going to be excellent. That's what people want. That's what they want. And nobody wants to download your app. So don't make an app. That's a waste of money. Don't make an app.
Thank you, Howard. I appreciate that. So I'll tell the audience, and we can end with this unless you have any other words after this. Would be what we did with our cookie company, and which isn't a physical place, but it is a consumer edible product.
And launched it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I launched it probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. So anyway,
Clean Cookie Company.
Clean Cookie Company. We'll link to it, but that's not the point. I'm not trying to promote, but I'm just taking our learnings and sharing with you. Is we started a cookie company that was, it's a niche product. It's vegan. We do only vegan and gluten-free products, and especially cookies, chocolate chip cookies. That's been our flagship product. And we don't have a physical location. It's our home. And
Yep.
we bake it here, and we deliver it out to whomever, especially in St. Louis. We ship to nationwide people. And what we did was we started from 0 customers, and we used specifically Instagram. We honed in on Instagram, and we did do some advertising, but we actually didn't see much success in it. Maybe it's because of my fault, because of my incompetence. But we did a lot of influencer advertising. We just shipped our cookies to influencers or delivered them. And we looked for anybody, not huge influencers. We didn't look for a Kardashian. We just looked for some foodie here or a vegan person there. And we started sending our product out there, and then they started sharing it and storying about it. And we started getting followers and subsequent orders. And we just made sure that we kept on doing that. The other thing we did was collect emails so we can actually send out newsletters. And our entire retail store is online. It is our website, period. That's the only way to make money.
You don't have any other distribution aside from ordering online on your Shopify site.
Aside from our Shopify site, and also I guess through Instagram and Facebook, they get linked into the Shopify site. So anyway, so through all that, it's been basically we've been using influencer marketing, and then now we have enough kind of a flywheel going where we can email our customers directly, and we can continue to post, and we'll get more shares. And the last thing I'll say is that we've used a lot of competitions or giveaways. Mm-hmm. And just pure giveaways, like, hey, basically, if you comment on here and share this out to X amount of people, and we will award some winner, somebody a free box of cookies. And that's gotten us new orders and new customers, and it's just growing from there. So, just as an encouragement to anyone we started from 0. Now we have like 400 plus followers on Instagram and a bunch of followers on Facebook. Anybody can do this. If we can do this, we're bumbling around. You restaurateur can do this. Take Howard's ideas, brilliant ideas. Take some of our mistakes and some of our learnings, and you survive this time. I think that it could. You find an innovation that causes you to thrive when this pandemic blows over. So that's the hope. Any other closing thoughts or feedback?
Yeah, I do. And this is something I do tell clients. I do some consulting. I do tell clients, and this is pandemic, no pandemic. If you're for your location, if you're a restaurateur and you have a 1, 2, 3 locations or 100 locations, doesn't matter. You need to know the people within a half a mile of you, every business, every person. There's no reason not to know everyone in your community. It sounds like a lot.
What does that mean, know? How do you define know?
It means recognize them. Touch them. They got to know you also. So
actually personally familiar with someone. These people.
Personally familiar. Draw that half-mile circle around you. Start with yourself in the middle. It's half-mile radius around you, and know those people. Make it a point. It's going to take months. Know those people. Put flyers on doors. Walk around. Say hi. When people are walking on the street, be kind. Introduce yourself. Be out there. It is very difficult to not support someone who you know, but it is very easy to dismiss someone you don't know. We know that. That is the lesson of the past 4 years. I'm not going to get political, but people that you treat well. So know, and people who know you treat you well. They'll support you. Know them.
Which, by the way, I will totally say that Howard knows. He is the mayor of that neighborhood that he started the coffee shop in. Every time we walk in the neighborhood, which we love, and we walk around, and he is saying hello to everyone, and everyone is saying hello to him. We barely have time to have a conversation because everybody's trying to talk to him, and so he is definitely walking the walk. And
I'm a very introverted person. I am very private. I don't socialize a lot. But I know the people in that neighborhood. I may not know their names. You don't have to know their names. You may just recognize their dog. You acknowledge everyone's humanity. Let them know who you are. Be there. And if you have a business and you're not there, don't have the business. If you're in the restaurant business, you need to kind of be there. You need to be the face of that business, or someone has to be the face of that business, that consistent business. Always better to be the owner. I'm a big believer in knowing your customers. I've seen the power of that. I've experienced the power of that. Draw that circle around your business. Start getting to know those people. Put something on the door. Say hi to people, even if it's weird, even if they're across the street. Hey, get to know them.
All right. Well, Howard, everyone else, thank you. We appreciate you, and hope you find this helpful. And let's all survive this time.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Next week. Oh, speaking of next week, what do you want to talk about?
Oh man, you're really putting me on the spot here. You know, this
Oh,
I do. You have an idea?
yeah. So I think we talked about doing. So what does it look like to create trust in a digital world?
Oh, I like that.
So how do we create trust? Because that's what we have to do now. It's
Right.
instead of being the mayor of a neighborhood, we can be the mayor of the world digitally. So how do you create that same kind of familiarity where people say, "Oh, hey, Howard," because you
But
say hi to.
across miles and miles, where I'll never actually physically meet that person.
You may never ever come into their neighborhood, but you can still create that type of intimacy, maybe, or familiarity, where people go, "Oh, I recognize them." And I can trust them, just like Seth Godin has created an immense amount of trust.
Mm-hmm.
How do you create that now in a digital world? What do you think about that?
Let's do that.
All right.
It can be done. We do it every day, and we're going to show you how.
All right. All right. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.